China's top diplomat is making a rare visit to the United States in a bid to manage deep strategic differences between these two superpowers. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's three-day American trip is expected to pave the way for a potential summit between Presidents Xi Jinping and Joe Biden next month. And this will be the first trip to the US by a top Chinese foreign policy official in more than 2 years. Mr. Wang is set to meet US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. That's later today. Mr. Blinken has said that he will work with Mr. Wang to prevent the conflict in the Middle East from spreading. They last spoke briefly on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit that was held in Indonesia in July. A meeting with President Biden is also reportedly on the cards. The White House and the Chinese Foreign Ministry haven't confirmed the news, though conflict in the Middle East has added a fresh dynamic to the thorny relations between the superpowers. The US has pledged unwavering support for Israel, while China has called for restraint and a ceasefire, but it has refrained from explicitly condemning Hamas for the attacks. For more, CNA's Olivia Seong joins us. She's live in Beijing. Ollie, Mr. Blinken told the UN Security Council that he would work with Mr. Wang to prevent the conflict between Israel and Hamas from spreading to the wider region. What do we know of Washington's plans to actually achieve this? And what should we expect to come out of these high-level talks?
Well, we know that Mr. Wang will be kicking off his visit to the U.S. by sitting down with his American counterpart, and with the conflict between Israel and Hamas looming large, Mr. Blinken is likely to want to get buy-in from Mr. Wang for China to use its friendship with Iran, which backs Hamas, to do more to cool tensions and to prevent the conflict in the Middle East from spreading. Also, in light of how China was able to broker that detente between Iran and Saudi Arabia earlier this year. But this may prove challenging. We saw that China, along with Russia, vetoed a US-drafted UN Security Council resolution. It said that this did not reflect calls for a ceasefire and an end to fighting. And China has maintained its position in this conflict. It has not explicitly condemned Hamas. It has also been critical of Israel. And Mr. Wang told his Israeli counterpart in a phone call, though, that all countries have a right to self-defense, but stressed that they should also abide by international law. And also in back-to-back phone calls, he told his Palestinian counterpart that China deeply sympathizes with the difficult situation of the Palestinian side. Now, this is even though this afternoon we saw the China's foreign ministry spokesperson saying that China has no selfish interest on the Palestinian question and will support anything that's conducive to peace. So it will remain to be seen how these talks pan out.
Ollie, it's been some time since we've seen such a high-level visit, a foreign policy visit by a Chinese diplomat to the United States. Is the timing of Mr. Wang's visit here significant? And do we know what else is on the agenda?
Well, timing is everything. We know that besides speaking to his U.S. counterpart, Antony Blinken, Mr. Wang will also sit down with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, and they are expected to discuss, besides the Israel-Hamas conflict, the thorny issues that have plagued the China-U.S. relationship. We're also going to be seeing them talk about the Ukraine war, as well as tensions in the South China Sea, especially amid the friction that China has seen with the Philippines in recent times. Now, reports suggest also that Mr. Wang will have FaceTime with U.S. President Joe Biden. Now, China has not confirmed this, even when asked today at the Foreign Ministry briefing, but we do know that Mr. Blinken did speak with Chinese President Xi Jinping when he visited Beijing earlier this year. Now, all this is also being viewed as paving the way for a high-stakes meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President President Joe Biden next month, potentially at the APEC meeting in San Francisco, which has not been confirmed. But increasingly, with this increase in diplomatic activity, looks more likely that it's going to happen, that both sides seek to manage their rivalry and differences. There's been a build-up to this with a flurry of visits to China by U.S. officials, engagements on various fronts, whether it's on the economy and climate change has also increased. We are also expecting a U.S. delegation to visit Beijing this weekend to attend a high-level security forum here in the Chinese capital. Now, China's foreign ministry says that Mr. Wang will have an in-depth exchange of views, but also clarify China's position and legitimate concerns regarding bilateral relations. And observers I've been talking to also say that whether or not there will be substantial outcomes from Mr. Wang's meeting and a potential meeting between the two top leaders remains to be seen, given that there are thorny issues that are still in place that have yet to be resolved.
Ollie, thank you for that. CNA's Olivia Song there, live for us in Beijing.